So as you can tell, it is super icy today. We got some snow, not too much, but we got some snow here in New York. And then after it snowed, it became absolutely freezing, hence why everything iced over. So I figured it'd be a good time to talk about the M3, specifically the Xdrive system on it, and if I think it's worth it, if you guys should get one with the Xdrive, or just overall my opinions about it, because at this point I've owned the car for a little while. I've driven the car through pretty bad rain, just normal nice days, and now some decent snow. I didn't drive today, but yesterday when it first snowed, I took the car for a drive. Honestly, if I could have avoided it, I would have, but I had to drive it. So now I kind of have experience driving the car through some ice and snow. So with that said, guys, we're gonna fire up the car while I talk to you a little more, because this thing is definitely freezing. It needs to warm up a little bit. So with that said, just give it a second. There it is. Remote engine start. Honestly, one of the best features, especially if you live in a cold area. Just start up your car, let it warm up for a little bit before you start driving. I want to talk to you about the Xdrive system. So just right off the bat, if you guys aren't familiar with these cars, the new generation of M3s you can get with Xdrive. You can also get them in rear-wheel drive. If you do want an Xdrive car, you do have to get a competition. You can't get a quote-unquote base model with Xdrive. What does that really mean? It doesn't really mean much, but what it does mean is you can't get a manual with Xdrive. So that's probably one of the first key things to note, is the Xdrive system you can't get with a manual. So right off the bat, I know some people are already gonna hate it. But anyways, the next thing is the best of both worlds thing that I talked about before, and that is the option of going between four-wheel drive and two-wheel drive with a press of a button. Quite literally with the press of a button. So right now you guys can actually see on the dash right there, it says four-wheel drive. That means full traction control, full four-wheel drive. I'm pretty sure it's still biased, probably 60% to the rear, 40% to the front, typical Xdrive stuff. But with a press of a button, aka the M1 or M2 button, you can switch it to four-wheel drive MDM or two-wheel drive. And the way that works is you can actually configure these buttons, if you didn't know, by going down over here and pressing on setup. So if we go down, you can see we have traction control, that, or DSC, which is dynamic stability control, I believe, don't quote me on that. We have it off. So with that off, we can adjust the M Xdrive. So right now it says four-wheel drive sport. That's four-wheel drive MDM. It's basically four-wheel drive with reduced stability control. I know it's confusing because it says it's off over here, but you still have some type of traction control. So if you press on that, you can see we have four-wheel drive, which we saw already, or we have two-wheel drive. So again, over here it says DSC is off, but you can actually see, I forgot what the package is called, but I have the additional package where you can have like 10 levels of traction control. So with that, you can actually adjust this. So right now I have it on level 8, but regardless, the point is you can now have two-wheel drive and whatever level of traction control you want. Right now, if we go over here, you guys can see, again, it says four-wheel drive, but if I press on M2, I'll press it once, you can't see it, but on the heads-up display, it's basically telling you, you know, traction control warning, all that. So if you press it, it's gonna make you press it one more time to confirm. And you guys can see right over there, now it says two-wheel drive, DSC off, and it'll show you the level of traction control you have. So that's really important, obviously, especially on an icy day like today. So with that in mind, we're gonna go for a little drive. I'm gonna give you guys my opinion. Now, again, this is strictly my opinion. I'm not a professional race car driver. I'm just a normal dude who likes cars, who likes to drive spiritedly occasionally, but for the most part, really drives his car to take his family places and to go to work, stuff like that. So if you relate to that, you're gonna relate to me. But anyways, this car in all-wheel drive feels really good, honestly. One of the main benefits is the launch control. If you guys are buying this car to commute, or maybe you are just buying it to race, I don't know, and you just want the Xdrive system because you feel like it's gonna help you out on launches and 0 to 60s, and you know, maybe you're drag racing it, whatever it is, you're absolutely right. This thing is gonna be an absolute beast. You get so much more traction. These cars are so much faster. But I'll tell you this, guys, I've done some 0 to 60 times and I've hit below 3 seconds off camera, and I think I filmed one. It was about 3 seconds, which is absolutely wild for a car like this to hit 0 to 60 in 3 seconds or less. That's pretty freaking impressive if you ask me. A rear-wheel drive car obviously would not be able to do that unless you get some, I don't know, maybe you get like some really crazy tires. If that's what you guys want to do, obviously do that. But if you just want to like take the stock tires and rip it, yeah, this car in four-wheel drive is a beast when launching. But in terms of commuting, I really don't feel the advantages of four-wheel drive. Now, I will say that's gonna depend highly on your tires. This one has the Pirellis, so you know, they're not the best tire for the snow or for icy conditions. If you guys take some like winter tires and you put it on this car, I'm sure it's going to be a beast combined with the Xdrive system. But I'm just talking about the car in its stock form. It doesn't feel the best. I've driven it in rain. It definitely is pretty likely to hydroplane. If you guys didn't know, this car has, I believe, 285s in the rear, so definitely a wider tire. And whenever you're driving a car with wider tires, wider wheels, that you're going to be more likely to hydroplane, because obviously, if you guys didn't know, hydroplaning happens when your tire doesn't disperse the water away from the wheels in time, and you're almost like driving above the water rather than splitting through the water. So wider wheels are actually a bad thing for the snow and for the rain. So this car, again, in its stock form at least, has wider wheels, so not ideal. I didn't hydroplane completely, I'll be honest. I drove very slow in the rain, but I felt the car hydroplane a lot quicker than I would have in like my 330i, which has 225. So probably not necessarily the Xdrive system's fault, but it is the car's fault, at least again in its stock form. So driving it in the rain was not exactly safe. Now, I don't know how much all-wheel drive would really help you in the rain regardless. Xdrive to me really helps you with like getting out of sticky situations like the snow and stuff like that. So speaking of the snow, the car slipped again. This car did not do very well. It doesn't do bad, but yeah, it did not do well in the snow for me. I was actually driving on the highway. I was going about, I want to say like 35 or 40 miles per hour, where the speed limit's like 55, by the way, but I was still driving slow, and I just felt the car start to go sideways. So thank God I caught it and I was able to counter steer. If you guys are ever in a situation like that, I would not recommend slamming on your brakes. Just let go of the throttle, ride it out, try to counter steer. Point the wheel in the direction you want to go. Don't oversteer too much, because once you steer the wheel too much, you kind of like lose where the wheel is even pointed. I think just like having both hands on the wheel and pointing in the direction you want to go, I think you should be good. Again, I'm not a professional driver. Don't take this as like professional advice. Just from one dude to you know, someone watching this video, that's what usually helps me out. So maybe it'll help you out as well. But regardless, when I was driving it in the snow, again, very light snow, because you guys can even tell it's not like we got crazy snow. Yeah, I still slid. So the all-wheel drive system did not help me out. Again, a big thing is going to be the tires. And I know a lot of people are going to comment, well, if you put better tires, blah, blah, blah. But I want to talk about this car in its stock form, because maybe, like I said, you're buying this car to be your only car, to be your daily driver. And, you know, you're not going to change the wheels. You're not going to change the tires. You're just going to buy it as is and go and drive it. This is really for those people. So I'm talking about it in its stock form. And yeah, for me, like, it just wasn't that great. I was hoping it would be. I was hoping it would be better than that. Like, I kind of went into those drives being fairly confident, just because it's an all-wheel drive car. But, you know, I quickly learned otherwise. Something I will say is, when you're driving this car in any of those conditions, rain or snow, this car is very punchy. Obviously, it's a very powerful car, even in its stock form. So when you hit the gas, the car really wants to go. And yeah, just going that quickly, it does not exactly help you out. You're better off just, you know, accelerating more gradually, which is obvious. But, you know, with this car, even in its comfort mode, it's hard to do that because the car just goes, you know? But the point is, this car is honestly great in its Xdrive form. Overall, I still think it's better than the rear-wheel drive form, excluding the whole manual thing, because if you want rear-wheel drive, you can have that. And if you want the Xdrive for that, at least better driving during these conditions, or even just like the beast launches, which I think is reason enough, you can have that as well. So like I keep on saying, best of both worlds. But also, in terms of these conditions, it's not the best in its stock form. If you guys want this car, or an M4 and Xdrive, what I personally think you should do, since, I mean, you probably have the money because you're buying one of these cars, is get another set of wheels. Maybe get a set of wheels like off a 330 or something like that. Wheels that are skinnier, not 285s, and throw some winter tires or something like that, all seasons on them, I don't care. Just skinnier tires at least, and better tires, better suited for these weather conditions. Hopefully this video helped you out at least a little bit. If it did, make sure you drop it a like, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And yeah, with that said, this video is pretty much done, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.